Now, a lot of people have done these NQD jet boat builds. This is nothing new. This has been out for a long time. I mean, it's 2017, and I want to say people have been building these things since 2012, possibly earlier. So this is not a new build. There's plenty of build videos out there. Just in case anybody was interested, I'm sure mine's not going to be the best. But what we're going to do, first thing we have to do is we have to make some basic cuts. Where we need to cut out some plastic all through here, but we want to leave a little bit of an edge all the way around so we can put the stock cover back on, and I might do a little bit of plastic bending here just to see if I can rig up something to stop the water from coming in a little bit more than this little ridge that's around the edge. So I might actually leave a little bit extra plastic. I guess the first thing you're going to want to do is to remove this on-off switch. Because we're going to be making a cut just right on this outside edge of the switch right up here. Right up in here. I'm going to use that for a line just to get rid of that little bubble there. So just to the outside of the circle is going to be my cut line here. I already somewhat marked a line across the bottom. That's like 3/4 of an inch from here to here. And that's basically how I marked it across the bottom. Not too sure exactly what the side measurements are going to be. I need to get this switch out of here first. So unscrew the switch and just let it drop down on the inside. The screws are stuck in there. Get a hold of this little guy. I pulled the last one out. Came out without a problem. Don't let that screw outsmart you. Well, alright. After using this here blue point ruler and figuring out that it was 23/16 of an inch off the edge, that's with holding the ruler at the back of the boat or on the side of the boat like so. It was 23/16 of an inch to the edge of this hole. 23/16 according to the ruler, which is an odd measurement, yes. And then I figured that out on the back edge here to where it came to. Didn't necessarily, most people will cut right along the edge of this battery tray. I went in front of it just a pinch. And then I'll probably, I don't know, bend this plastic up a little bit or something. I didn't want to really cut on that crease too much. Another thing that I used a ruler for the straight cuts on this, or for the straight marks. Across the back here, I used a dielectric grease container or packaging to draw my straight line across the back, just because it fit in between nicely. And for drawing the line up across the front, I also used a piece of the top of the box too, so I could hold it in like this on my marks and whatnot for drawing my lines, just so I'd made sure that they were relatively straight. Next thing to do is just to cut that inside mess out. So need to find a sharp knife for that guy, or for that job. Now I've heard that this part can be very tricky. This plastic apparently cuts extremely easy once you start going into it. From the previous videos that I had watched, they had talked about making your first cut right here going away, another cut right here going away, starting in the corners and working your way up. So do all your corner cuts first. I am using a disposable Exact Zero knife. This one is brand new. And I'm going to start in the very corners with a couple straight up cuts, or one here going this way and one here going that way, and then do my straight lines. But I'm going to do this off camera because I really don't want to mess it up, and you guys aren't going to get a good view. So maybe we'll start a little bit on camera. I don't know. This could be tricky. That's a little bit tougher than they let on. Knife doesn't exactly want to just plunge right in. I'll tell you that. I might have actually just broke the tip right there. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do this off camera, I think, maybe. Yeah, once again, I don't know if this is the best way of going about this or not. I'm sure there's several different ways. I put a piece of terry cloth or cleaning rag down underneath the boat so it's not going to get damaged here. I'm just trying to score this edge and stay in a straight line at the same time, which is easier said than done. Get the switch rattling around on the inside there. Yeah, I'm going to do this a couple times just to try to dig into the plastic a little bit, I guess, or to cut through it a little bit before I actually attempt to plunge this blade into the corner. I want to go ahead of the line a little bit here, just in case. Still doesn't necessarily want to plunge in. I've seen a lot of people using little die grinders and whatnot for doing this. Or not a die grinder, but a little miniature cutoff wheel for a die grinder. Which would probably be a good idea. Not too sure how thick that plastic is, but this little Exact Zero knife's having a hard time cutting through it. Alright, well, I think it's going to take a die grinder. I do have a little die grinder right here, but it's old. It's very old, and it only works on low range. So, or high range, I should say. I'm charging up the battery for it right now. I do have a little Dremel thin cutoff wheel on here. So when we do get this charged up, we'll make these cuts here. Well, guys, the Dremel is still charging, so I just used a little box cutter here. Start at the top, made a couple initial passes until the blade started to penetrate through. Did that on both the top and the bottom, and now I'm able to get the Exact Zero knife in there, and I'm just gonna start making my cuts here from this end to this end, and then I'm gonna do the same going up this way. So the Dremel's still charging, and we're chewing through it with the razor blade. Don't want to put too much pressure down on it because it cuts real easy once you start going. And it really gets a hold of the blade. Alright, well, that's our bottom line done so far. I'm going to start on these edges here. Oops, pause. Cutting these back lines is just a little bit tougher, just because the roll bar is kind of sitting in the way. Gonna have to do this a few more times here. Definitely a little awkward here. With the roll bar. Oh, went off the line. Figures. I go on camera and I go off the line here. Alright, a few more times with this. Yeah, once you start cutting through it, it goes pretty quick. Alright, last little bit is right along this edge here. Alright, there is our basic cutout. I left a little bit of an edge here, cutting out the battery tray. That might, I don't know, I didn't really want to cut into this curve too much down here. So I just kind of went down and around the bottom of it. A little bit of structural support maybe, or help holding foam in. Who knows? Not that big of a deal. Close enough for my quality. There's a little bit of a ridge right here from where the power cable was sticking through for the battery. So I kind of cut right down the edge of that ridge line. Other than that, there's the inside of it. Appears to be the power switch that's bouncing around. A receiver and whatnot over here on this side. Steering servo on that side. So I guess we'll get to taking all this crap out. A lot of room up in here, no foam inside. So we're going to have to add some foam in there as well. Alright, well the first thing I'm doing in here is I'm taking out these two screws. There's one there and there's one way back down here. A little bit harder to get at that one down there. Had to use this real fine screwdriver and come in at an angle to get to that one. So taking the lid off the electronics here. Alright, well I took the two screws out. This little lid pops off. It has a couple little tabs here. I just pop those off with a flat bladed screwdriver. Feeding the antenna back through the hole here. Get that out of the way. Trying to do this somewhat gently. I don't really want to damage that grommet too much. Don't know if I'm going to be using that grommet, but I don't know if this is really glued in here or what. It seems to have a pretty good hold on it. Looks like these wires are running through a, oh, there we go. take a look at the brain surgery. All right, now I'm going to just, you know, I guess I'll cut the leads off for the motor. Somewhat high up. I'll leave some wire on there in case I ever want to use that motor in something else. Don't think I'll be using this servo and anything else. Pile of guts. Alright. Next thing to do is to take out some screws for the servo. Loosen up the servo horn that's way down in here. Get this guy undone. And try to get the servo out of here. Yeah, right down in the center of here is a real small set screw or grub screw. I use my Allen wrench, loosen that up because the servo horn is going to be kind of hard to get to, so I don't want to mess anything up here. All right, so I removed this top screw down here, right down in here. There's a little plate up here. It's kind of, well, not so easy now. Just kind of picked this up and moved it off to the side. There we go. And hopefully the servo will lift out of here. Now there's definitely something holding the servo in there, so I'm prying it up with my thumb, and right down here there is a little screw for the servo horn. And I'm taking a screwdriver in sideways and I'm removing that servo horn just so I don't damage that. Alright, well, got the servo horn out of the way, and then the servo lifted up relatively easy. So the servo is out, and we still have this little tray back here that we can attempt to reuse for mounting another servo on. And on some of the other videos, people had talked about these trays not being glued in very well from boat to boat. But these seem to be glued in pretty good. There's a nice line of glue going all the way around each one of these trays. All the way up the side and around it. You can see it's kind of shining up in that corner. So they did a pretty good job gluing these guys in. At least on this particular boat. Next step, I guess, is we're going to have to probably pull out this entire outdrive in order to get this motor out of here. So we're going to have to remove the jet drive on it next. Alright, well, we have these 4 screws on the bottom that need to come out. This one here is for that servo tray. Don't know if I have to take that one out or not just yet, but these 4 have to come out. Also, I have to remove the 4 screws off the back of the nozzle here. Alright guys, just for craps and giggles, you know, I saved this little box that the receiver was in. Took apart the servo, just because it had these little clips on the side. It was nice and easy to do, just to see what makes it tick. Wow, pretty basic, eh? Some contacts in here. Electric motor. Gear assembly. So yeah, pretty basic system there. Yeah, I don't think I trust this too much. One dunk in the water and she'd be over with. All right, next step was removing these 4 screws off the back of the nozzle, and these 4 screws from underneath the intake. So we're just about done with those guys. We'll get them out of there real quick and move on to the next step. All right, so our 4 screws are out of the bottom. I've heard people talking about a rubber washer down here. I didn't see any rubber washers. That looks like a rubber washer, but it's just a layer of shoe goo, so did not see any rubber washers on anything. Alright, so I have all the screws out. top and bottom. Gonna pull the servo horn out of the tube there, and then pull the motor out. And since the motor appears to be glued in, well, we know it's glued in. I'm trying to use this knife here to gently cut around the glue without actually, up here it looks like they got some kind of super glue. It seems to be a little harder compound here. So I'm going to have to be careful cutting around this just to make sure that I don't damage the hull of the boat. Boy, whoever glued this in at the factory was, must have been bucking for a promotion or something. Had a bunch of epoxy right up in here in the corner. It was a real problem to get through. I'm trying to gently get through the bottom of this stuff here without cutting into the hull. The glue on the inside is like the consistency of tree sap. It's oh, that one's hot glue. This stuff right here. It's like tree sap. So I don't know what they were using on the inside, but we're almost through it. Yeah, normally you'd want a boat that's glued together well, but in this case, not so much. All right. Lots of glue around the edges here. A whole bunch more on the inside to clean out. We'll get to that. Now, after the fact, I decided to go ahead and remove the screw that's holding down the servo tray. And that does appear to have a little rubber washer on there of some sort. Oh, don't lose that. Watch your hands, sharp edges. And that is our little servo tray, unscrewed and removed. We'll put that off to the side. Might reuse it. Trying to get access to the all this glue that's down here on the inside. It's all gobbed up in there pretty good. I want to get all that crap out of there. I really don't trust gluing on top of glue when I'm trying to reseal things. Well, alright guys, we got a big pile of glue here on the table, leftovers. Got the motor out. Found a free little grommet screw stuck to the motor. Did not come off of this. This has both its grommets on it. A lot of glue cleanup. You can see where this somebody had put a little super glue down in here. Somebody had also added some grease down there. I'm wondering if it's the person that I bought it from. Not too sure. Nevertheless, all our glue's cleaned up. Just an open hole on the inside. And we're going to get ready to put this guy back together. So that's the end of the first build video here, tearing it apart. Thanks for watching. This is Jim from RC After Dark. And we will be back here with another video. Thanks again.